Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Welcome everybody, this is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany. Today you are looking at the first episode of another occasional series within Startuprad.io we decided to do. We call it Entrepreneurial Tools, and we are talking about the nuts and bolts of entrepreneurship, tools that would help you to do stuff and get shit done. For the first episode, I do have Holger here with me. He's somebody you may recognize when you've been active in the Frankfurt startup scene a few years ago. He's a serial entrepreneur, but let's introduce yourself, right?
Hi, Jan. Thanks for having me. My name is Holger. Very happy to be on the Entrepreneur Tools podcast. I brought you a little tool that I've developed over the last couple of years in different startups and working as a startup mentor. It's a tool that helps us. It's very tiny, but it helps us in a very easy way to create empathy for the people we try to reach, to work on our communication and on our products. And we're gonna look at that tool now, and we're gonna talk about it.
What I actually really do like about tools is not that you should be chained to the tool and just only think in terms of those limitations, but what I really like about great tools is you can make sure you don't forget any important aspect, because when you're just sitting on the table and thinking about stuff, you're likely to forget important aspects, and that's where tools are actually helping. Can you take us just a tiny bit through your entrepreneurial journey before we get into the real stuff?
Sure. Basically, it started in 1998, 1999. I got back from the United States, and I had learned something over there that was very new. I was able to program HTML. Back then, we called it programming HTML. Which you don't say that anymore, but back then we did. And I started working on websites, and I founded my first company when I was 17 because I had worked and I needed to write an invoice to someone, and I couldn't because I was still a student. I was still the legal state of a student. So I went to court, and I got a court order that said that I was an adult when I was 17, so that I could actually do business within with my first company that I founded. So I built a couple of companies back then that were basically around digitalization, building websites, a little bit consulting, project management. I went into like the classical management and strategy consulting then for a while. I founded an open source project that was about financial modeling. I did a bit of more consulting. I founded some more exotic things. I founded a sports event company. I founded a company working with professional athletes and their transition after their career, if they're not millionaires by then, their transition into the workforce. So I've always had an interest in teaching and education. I've worked for the state of Germany with regards to how can we teach people the skills that they need to work in a digitalized environment. If you're 40 or 50, it's been 20 years that you've looked at a school book. Learning isn't the first thing you do or studying, and now your job changes radically, and you need new skills, or you're obsolete. What to do about that? So I researched scientifically a little bit about that. I founded a specialized company for luxurious hotels, doing mystery guest reviews and visits with hotels, checking their performance against needs and values of their clients, and teaching them how to work on the experience and the journey. Working with TripAdvisor shitstorms and how to game TripAdvisor, that sort of thing. And the last big thing I founded was an online shop We wanted to be the green and sustainable Amazon. In a way, we got there. We were in some listings, we were number one in the German market for this particular niche, but it didn't work out for various reasons. And then I went back into consulting and mentoring. Worked as a mentor for the Social Impact Hub in Frankfurt, Social Impact Lab. Build up a digital agency, and now I'm back as a strategy consultant and startup mentor and coach.
We may add for our audience who's residing outside of Germany, you get legally competent, meaning you can sign contracts for yourself in Germany only at 18 years old. So that's why you had to go to court to open a company. Usually that's not necessary. That said, let us get a little bit into the tools you brought with you, right?
Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of slides. If you can't look at them because it's running in the background or something like that, don't worry about it. We're going to describe it. It's a very easy little tool, and we call it the NOVA approach. NOVA stands for needs, objectives, values, analysis, and we're going to dive into this. It's a super easy 4-step approach to understand and to challenge yourself. What is it that my client or the person I'm trying to sell something to or the person I'm trying to convince of something, what they need? So it forces you to think, what do they need, and to step away from your own needs. So the reason we're using this, I'm with O'Donovan Consulting now, and here's facts and figures. We're a very pretty consulting boutique specialized in consumer and customer centricity. So we do any sort of work where it's about understanding a human or a customer. This can be e-commerce concepts or e-commerce assessments, journey mappings, has a lot to do with customer service processes. And it can also be very, very B2B kind of projects where classical project would be a company has a new software, they're digitalizing and it doesn't work. For some reason, people aren't on board. They're not pulling their weight. They're not using the new digitalization thing. They're resisting the change. And then we look at what is it that they need? Why aren't they on board? So that's the business we do. Here's a couple of our clients, well-known brands in the German market. And now let's look at the NOVA canvas. So the NOVA, again, 4-step approach. We look at needs, we look at objectives, and we look at the value of the opposite. And the whole thing starts with a trigger. So in any sort of situation, and we're going to go through 2 examples in a minute, we're going to look at my customer, the person on the other side of this conversation, of this dialogue, be it on a website or be it in person. They're on a journey. They're moving towards something, and hopefully they're moving towards something that I have. This doesn't work to sell something to someone that they don't need, by the way. If my only product is a hammer and they don't need a hammer, this is probably not going to help you. But in all the cases where your product is a fit, it'll help you. So the first thing we look at is what's the trigger? What sent this person on a journey that will end them up in my court? The next thing we look at is needs, and this is the deep psychological definition of need. Basic needs, fear, security, being heard, being seen,
being appreciated.
Being appreciated, exactly. So there's a set of about 30 basic human needs that we all share, and in the situation that we're looking at with the NOVA model, there is a couple of them that are dominating. If I'm looking for a lawyer to help me, then probably my basic needs for orientation, for protection are more dominant than other needs. If I'm looking to buy a $20,000 gold watch, my need to be seen or my need for status is likely to be dominating in this situation. Okay, so I fill out the canvas for this particular thing, looking at the need. The next thing is the objective. That is the actual target, the goal. If you come from solution-based selling, that's the problem we're trying to fix, or that's the job to be done, whatever you want to call it. That's the concrete, the specific thing this person needs, a watch or a specialized lawyer. The third thing we look at is value, and this isn't abstract values. We're all the same. Women are as smart as men, sort of values. But this is, how does the customer perceive value? What is very valuable to them? I just showed the chart that shows my company. We're 11 people. We connect with customers who value small consulting boutiques. A customer who values a 20,000 consultant enterprise over a small consulting firm, they won't connect with us, right? So this is the type of, how do I perceive value for what I'm looking for? And then what the canvas does is it forces you, once you've realized what the trigger is, to find to always match an emotional response to the need. So if my need is, I'm looking for a lawyer, I need protection, the emotional response is, we understand you're looking for a lawyer because you want safety, you want orientation. That's the emotional response I'm giving the person. With the objective, we call it the pledged benefit. So again, it's the match. We understand you're looking for a gold watch that is very big and very heavy. Here's a photo of a gold watch that makes absolutely sure you understand how goddamn heavy that watch is. Right? And then the value is, again, addressing and matching and creating what is called a resonance, right? If we connect this,
that would be the value to this client, to this group of clients, potential customers. It is not like of 500 euro for a heavy golden watch, right?
No, exactly. So when we're in the watch example, I'm targeting customers who value Swiss handmade watches, so I'm going to address that. Or I'm in a segment where I know that the customer will appreciate good value for money. That's a value perception for him. So I will tell him, you get a pretty decent, I don't know what's called in English, the inner workings of the watch, for the best price in the market, for example, right? So it's valuable to the client to get a good bang for the buck for the watch. And that way, we all walked through these situations with like a mental checklist. Things we like, things we need to hear, emotions that we're carrying. And this little tool, this little one-page table canvas, forces me to think, what are the checklist items of the other person and how can I tick them off?
Just like one watch company who actually advertises with you don't own this watch, you just take care for it of it for the next generation, something like this. It talks to your values. You want to build up something, you want to hand it over to the next generation and stuff like this. Just keeping to the watch example.
So that's basically it. Look for the psychological, emotional needs in that situation. Look for the actual specific objective. Look for, how does that person perceive value in that situation, and then give them answers that connect with those needs, with those checkboxes, and then you create resonance and you'll have a conversion. You'll have something happening. You'll get to your goal. And I've prepared 2 examples that we can look at right now, how to apply this.
One example we've been talking about was how to prepare a pitch to business angel. Exactly. I do believe right now there is a lot of interest. I do believe right now a lot of people out there are interested in being well prepared for pitch.
So we talked about tools. I think this is a very universal tool. It's like, my mother has 25 tools in her kitchen that are specialized, and I have a knife that does all of the things that those 25 things do. Okay, this tool is more of the knife type of. So you can use it in very, very different areas, and I've used this quite often in sales talks, in pitches, in designing websites, in designing products. I even went through this, put you into this to understand, what do I need to do to get on this podcast, and obviously it worked. So
yes, so we could say it's something like the Swiss Army knife of entrepreneur tools.
Well, it's a Swiss Army knife for forcing yourself to become empathetic, to create empathy, because that's what it's all about. It's to understand, what does the other person need, and then see, do I have something that fits that? Okay, great. Now I can package it in a way that they understand it. Because most of the times, if I have a fit, if I have a product market fit, we lose so much in translation. And you walk outside of a pitch situation and you don't win the pitch, but you're sure what you have is exactly what they need, but you didn't connect. This is the tool that makes sure you connect more times. Okay? So let's look at the pitch example if you want.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Cool. So the idea is, the basic scenario is, we have the opportunity to pitch to a local business angel association. We have a startup, and we want to make sure that with our pitch we connect with as many of the business angels that are there as possible. So the first thing is, what's the trigger? And the trigger is, now we're in the shoes of that business angel we want to reach. So for the example, we figured out there's business angels there are managers, accomplished managers. They just retired. They have a need to keep working in a business context because now they're not in their company anymore. They miss the business. So maybe this business angel we're looking at, or we have a persona, if you will, about. She met the local business angel association, is at the event for the first time. Now there's a pitch. This is the trigger. This is the setup of the person we're trying to connect with. So let's think about that persona, that business angel. What is it that emotionally, why would she be there? What is her needs? She needs to be seen. She wants to feel acknowledged again. Retirement, there's not much connection anymore. She used to be very present. Now she's not anymore. She misses the success that she had with her previous job. And maybe it's just she wants to be busy. She needs to do something, which can be a great driver to do anything. So we look at this. This is what we write down for this persona. So these are the emotional needs that we're going to address. So now, what's the actual specific objective? So let's say the business angel we want to connect with should be looking for an investment, because we're not trying to make friends. We're trying to get investors. Let's be realistic. This is business angels. It's play money for rich people. So 20 to 50,000 euros, right? It's probably not going to be a bigger ticket. If it is, it'll develop anyways. But this is what we're going for, and we want this within the next 2 months, or she wants it, or this is where we want to connect on that specific benefit. So what do we think does she value? So let's say, and this is something that you can fine tune in the pitch. If you have the opportunity, let them introduce themselves, because they will tell you about their values, right? We can think about and we can simulate needs. The objectives are pretty clear, but the values, you have to learn from that's on the other side of the table in this case. So
maybe a good idea would be to talk to the business angel up front. How would you structure at least a small part of this conversation where you're looking for the values of the business angel?
I would personally, I'm very straight out, so I would ask. I would say, what kind of startup would you invest in? What's important for you? Can you tell me a startup that you would have invested in like that if you had the chance? Can you tell me about startups that you haven't invested in and why? I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to start lying about who we are and how we work just to get your money in, because we both know that's going to end badly anyways. But I need to understand if we are who you're looking for. And so that is what I would do. I would just ask straight out. And if I'm at a bigger gathering, I would try to talk to the organizer and say, what kind of people are there at this business angel pitch? What kind of people does your association attract? What are the things you talk about? Is there a kind of startup that is more likely to win within your event format than other startups? And so to try to get a feeling. But the best thing is to ask the people, or to do like an introductory round. So let's say, for the sake of this example, we've learned that she introduces herself and says, I've been a manager with the same company for 40 years. I'm a good person leader. I had a team with 17 different nationalities that I led there. always worked hard. We had hard days. I don't have any kids because career always came first for me. But now I'm looking for other ways to bring in what I'm good at, to work with someone. And by the way, don't worry if you don't have a university title. I never went to university. I started straight out of school. So let's say that's her introduction. So she just told us, I mean, as an example, it's exactly what's on the page. She values diversity, she values hard work, loyalty. She's been with the same company for long, and she respects the non-university career basis. So now that we know that, we know if we have what she's looking for. If we don't have what she's looking for, we'll say our goodbyes and we'll go. We're not lying. We're not creating something like a fake offering. But if we do have something, we now know how to connect because we can give her an emotional response and we can say, we're the startup. We're looking for an investor. We're looking for an investor who is not afraid to be successful with us, right? Because we know she's looking for success, so we hang out the success out there. We're super busy. We're not a stealth startup. We're going to be pitching at a lot of events. We're going to be out there, right? So we're a loud startup. So now we connect to someone who has that emotional need. Then we can just basically go in there and say and offer the pledge benefit. So we're looking for a 50K ticket, and then you go into the technicalities of valuation and how much percentage and so on. What we need is someone to start with us right away. We're looking for an active business angel who wants to actually work with us, and we'd like to have you in the driver's seat for this or that, right? Because that way, I'm ticking off the boxes in this examples checklist. She's looking for that. She's looking to be involved, and I'm offering her that if I can. And then the value profile again. That's a copy mistake on the page, but the value profile will basically mirror what we have on the left side. So we're going to talk about the team. If we have a diverse team, we're going to go into there. If we have stories within our team, or we can say something that fits, that connects with the hard work ethic, the loyalty, the things that we identified with the value, we're going to offer up that. And if she can tick enough boxes in her search pattern, which is there, it's not conscious, it's not out in the open, but it's there, she's going to want to talk to us, and we're going to have an investor.
I especially like the part where you've been talking about topic X and active business angels, because I do believe there are like two different types of business angels you want to have. The first ones are the very relaxed ones. They give you a ticket of something like 50,000 euros, and then they call you a half year later, and then they call you a half a year later again, the more passive investors. And then you want to have the people that actually help you, like lawyers, like accountants, who have expertise. You don't have a B2B sales experience in management for 20 years or something. That is something you would be looking for. Everything in between is, for my personal experience, is pretty hard to have as business angels, especially if you have people who want to be the backseat driver.
Well, you need to be very clear about what they are looking for when you take them aboard, and if you're able and willing to give them that. I personally, I agree with what you're saying. I don't really see the value in the I'm just giving you a small amount of money business angel, and I'm not going to help you. Because honestly, if all they have to contribute is 20,000 euros or 30,000 euros, and that's all you need from them, and if you can actually with a good conscience tell them you're going to double that money, there's easier ways to get 30,000 euros without having a business angel in there who owns a part of your company. It's going to be a nightmare later on if you have an exit and you have a business angel on the ticket and so on. So I generally don't see the value in that type of business angel. The type of business angel that will go in there and say, oh, you have a startup in an area where I've been successful and knowledgeable for the last 30 years. I'm going to give you some money to get you off the ground. I'm going to give you my contacts and networks, and I'm going to give you my experience. Then I see for this, where the value of a business angel is in the startup process.
I totally agree with you.
All right. Want to head over to the next example?
Yes, sure.
So just to show that this is a universal knife, this is an example of the question is, we have a startup and we want to design our first website. Our first landing page. And this is something I see quite often is startups make a website, and it's usually the first thing they do before they're even done thinking about their idea the website is online. The first thing they put on the website is the About Us page. Right? It's the very first thing.
From my personal experience, I've been working with startups for 2.5 years now. The trouble is many startups have so many wording, so much marketing done on what they are actually doing that the websites tend to be more or less useless from a professional perspective, because they reformulate and remarketing, and that does so long until it sounds very fancy, but you don't have a clue what those guys are actually doing. And that's, for me personally, a problem. And as you said, when you did not think it through, when you did not explain it to like an external third person, then you really have issues with the About Us page that is out there. And I do believe you'll also go to this direction, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is no one cares about you, dude. Like, no one, like, we don't. We walk through life, and the one thing that is in our mind is what's in it for me. And if I go to a startup website,
that's the same stuff. For example, many podcasters, when they're listening to another podcast, they give it like 10 minutes and they either like it or they are out. But for whatever reason, they are very convinced for their personal podcast, people will listen to 100 episodes if they're out there just because it's them. No, that's not the way it works, neither for podcasters nor for startups.
Well, that's yeah, and you see that with all kind of startups. There's a lot of lying to yourself, and that is out of self-preservation, really, right? I have a product, and I need the world to care for my product, because if they don't care for my product, then I don't have a product, and then I need to find another job. So there's a lot of this egocentricity going on. I have my product, and I keep convincing myself that it's the best product. So I talk about me, and I talk about myself, and I talk about the product on the website. People don't care. All they go on the website and they ask, what's in it for me? And so this is why this little model, it forces you to step outside of your own zone. About Us, when I was just going to say, when COVID hit in the Rhine-Main area, Frankfurt, Wiesbaden or so, there was a dozen startups that popped up that wanted to help shops and restaurants, right? Because they weren't digitalized, and they all put like shopping carts, or you could buy coupons and that sort of thing. And there was a time when none of those websites were functional, but all of them had a super cool About Us page with pictures of the people and the story. And I'm a super cool guy because I want to help the little shop down the road. Well, if you want to help them, stop talking about yourself and start programming your little website to help them.
Less talking, more doing.
No one cares about you. People care. It's always what's in it for me. And so if we're designing this website for the startup, go through the canvas and take this, and the what's in it for me for your customer will come up, and it'll force you to get away from this whole, hello, my name is Holger. And I've had these websites, don't get me wrong. I've had more of those websites than I would like to remember. Yeah, my name is Holger, and one day I had this great idea, and this is my product, and I told countless business angels that the world needs my product, but it was always.
And what did they say?
But it was about me. Well, most of them didn't get fooled, right? Because it's in the end is their business.
It's a harsh truth, but that's one of the things I like about you. They didn't get fooled, so you really come to the center or something pretty fast. I like that.
Well, I mean, in hindsight, I've pitched, especially early on, right? I remember the very first pitch I did for a company was, I was 17 years old. It was the Business Angel Frankfurt Association or something like that. This was still done on these see-through pages that you printed on, right? We didn't have There was no projectors or computers or something like that. So you actually had overhead stuff. I don't know what it's called, right? Where you had an actual projector and you printed the things out. And the idea was shit. And they told me that. They basically it was soul crushing. I had this company idea and it was completely market tested. It was all about me. I didn't look at a single competitor. I went in there and I pitched it, and they were very polite and they listened to it and then they said, "Boy, go home." And it was soul crushing. And a couple of years later, when I understood I got better at this and I failed forward and I started to understand what happened back then. That was a very easy test for them to make. All they looked at was, is he in his own little bubble, his own little dream, or is he actually thinking about a customer? And if the answer to that is no, you're out.
Thinking about our customers, I will put a picture of an overhead projector down here because many people in the right age to listen or watch this won't know what you're talking about. It's really sad, but that's what we are living in.
Okay, so let's go through this quickly. How to apply this if you have a startup and you want to make a website. So the example here is I have a startup and my product is I have a bracelet. There's an NFC chip in there, and I can use it to go on a festival or on an event, and I beep beep and I pay with it. Okay, fairly easy, straightforward product that could probably have a market. So if I'm making the website, who am I making that website for? I'm making the website for, right now, the event organizer. He's my primary target group. I want him to buy 1,000 of those things or 50,000 of those things for his next event. So what's the trigger? What activates him to go on a search that'll end up with me? He needs to have something that triggers him. There is no, people aren't, your customers aren't sitting at home next to a big pile of cash looking for you. They're not. They have a need, something happens. So let's say the trigger in this event is the event organizer has an event and then he has trouble with the event financials and the bookkeeping. And he says, I'm done with this. So much, I do concerts, I do shows. I don't want to be in Microsoft Excel doing bookkeeping. This has to end. I'm looking for a solution. So that's what sets him off, the trigger. So
maybe a lot of cash gets lost during the event.
That could be, but that would be a different model, right? So different triggers, different model, because the trigger I have here, he's just fed up and annoyed with the bookkeeping. Now his emotional state is he's looking for peace of mind. He's looking for a low risk and security or an thing, and maybe he wants to be special and he wants to be innovative to set himself apart from other comparable events. If you say the trigger is he lost a lot of money, then his emotional needs might be much more skewed towards the whole risk, security, fail-safe thing, right? And then I need to speak with him differently. I need to offer something else. So his objective, straight out, he needs a solution for food and beverage accounting. His values. So we're a startup, and that's not going to end. We're innovative. We have a digital solution, so we're going to connect with someone who has those values. There is probably an event organizer out there who has that psychological need and those objectives, but who hates startups and who wants a solution from a 50-year-old company and wants a solution where in the end he gets a fax. Okay, there's people like that out there. We're not going to connect with them, so let's not care about them. We're not going to convince them of other values. So the people we can connect to are people who like startups, who like innovation, digital solutions, and who like integrated solutions. So now we go over and we give them something to match that. Dude, we understand events are complex and you want to focus on the event. You want to focus on booking artists, not the organization. However, that's where you make your money. And your visitors are most important to you. We understand that, right? It's a completely emotional pitch. We emotionally connect. We understand your fears, what drives you, and we're there with you. The pledged benefit is we'll supply the bracelet, we'll set everything up, and we'll run the whole solution for you, if that is what our product is. And then for the value profile, we're a startup. We're cutting edge. We were founded last year. Here's our founder's track record. We have people here who have put out other digital solutions and digital innovation, and everything is digital. And now, again, if I have that event organizer on the page, who's my dream customer? and it's a very specific dream customer, right? Another mistake people make is they build this website and they try to make it as broad as possible, and they try to make, right. And if you think, maybe there's clowns out there who run clown events, and we don't want to lose the clown events as possible customers, then they'll put a sentence on the website that says also available for clowns. And like, no, 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 you're not. The point is not to be as broad as possible.
Focus, focus, focus.
Exactly. So, and if we have that person on the website, he's going to click, he's going to resonate, and there's going to be a call to action, and we're going to start talking to him.
And when you have a lot of these customers, you then can go into other target groups, other markets, and at one point end up with the clowns as well, but don't serve all the people at the same time.
Well, the nice thing about the internet, I mean, we're in a website building example here, is it's unlimited space. So I have customers who sell the same product, the same couch, to 5 or 6 different Nova groups, as we call them. And it's just different websites. It's the same product, but we know that for this one group that has a different trigger than the other group, we need to talk to them differently. We need to use different pictures. We need to use different colors. So we put out 5 websites that sell the same product to 5 different Nova groups, to 5 different clusters of needs and objectives and values, and it works, right? Because it's the internet. It's unlimited space. So the last,
yes, and what's also interesting is that you have a product that resonates with 5 different groups, but you need 5 different websites to actually approach them, right?
Or it can be landing pages, it can be websites, but yeah, sure. And if it's worth doing, then you'll do it, right? If the group is big enough that it warrants to clone your website and put different content on there, then do it. For startups, for example, one very easy thing to do is have a website landing page that says, are you a B2B customer or are you a possible investor? And then just put 2 websites out there with the investor info, and it's not secret. Anyone can look at it, but I can go in there and I'm like, what's in it for me? Well, what are you? I'm a possible investor. Okay, click. I get all the stuff that I need. Then I can look at obviously, if I'm a good investor, I'm going to look at the client side as well. But right, so that way, I can target it, and I can make it based on the needs of who's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing you can do, and not the last thing, but the next thing you would do with this is we actually do this along the entire customer journey. So if you're looking at a digital customer journey that starts in Facebook or on Google, you come to the landing page or the home page of the website. Maybe it's a shop. You go to a listing page or a search result listing. You go to the page where the actual item is. You go to the checkout. We do this Nova canvas for every step of the way, and through that fine-tune the content that is there. Because every step of the way, I am in one of those Nova situations where I have emotional needs, I have fears, and they're different, right? I'll give you a very specific example. When I'm in an e-commerce setup and I go towards the checkout, I have hope that they offer PayPal because that is what is most convenient for me. And I fear that they own credit card because I am sitting on the toilet and my credit card is not on the toilet with me. And the whole idea that I cannot end this buying process right now, I don't know. Are they gonna, I don't know for how long I'm gonna be here, and then maybe in 10 minutes I will have forgotten. The whole thing stresses me right there and right then. So I'm there. Whereas when I'm in some other place in the shop, maybe my biggest fear I have is, but what if extra large there makes me look fat, right? So different things. So we actually do the Nova, and you get quite good at it after a while because it's just really a really easy model. So we do it for every step of the way, and we fine-tune content and we fine-tune functionality when we're building customer journey architecture is what we call it.
One question, rule of thumb, because I've been working in the past a lot with customer journeys, and one point of friction has always been, is this a step in the customer journey or is it not? Do you have a rule of thumb, something, how many steps you need at least, or when is it a different step in your customer journey? I mean, switching between Facebook, your website, going into your online shop, that are obvious steps. Are there less obvious, or is it totally fine to first divide the customer journey into 25 steps and then cut down?
So the first thing I would always say is that the customer journey should have as few steps as possible. Okay, so anytime you can make it, the image I always play with is we're talking about buying things, right, or converting towards something. Imagine you walk into a big department store or a big shop, and you have this checklist, right? There's stuff that you need to figure out, and at some point you have them checked out. They're okay, and you're ready to buy. You should be able in the store to raise your hand and say, I am ready to buy. And there should be this enormous big bouncer who pops up next to you, and he will move everyone out of the way, lift you up, carry you to the cashier, and say, this gentleman is ready to buy. Nothing will come in his way. That is what we want. We don't want a single step that is unnecessary. And that is how I think customer journeys should be designed. So you need to have like jump points where I've actually built journeys where we ask people, are you ready to buy yet? Because if you are, click here. If not, fine. We think this is the next thing that you're going to need to read. So as few steps as possible is the first answer. And the second answer, is it a step or is it not a step? It's very easy. Every decision that the customer makes that can have an impact, right? I'm leaving or I'm going on the journey to the next is a step. So anytime there is a decision made, it's basically a step. Now, obviously, if you have a page and there's 5 pieces of information, there's 5 like micro decisions. But in the end, I have someone on the item page on the shop, and the decision is, are you going to click on the buy now button? I click on that. Now something happens. The off canvas card comes in or something like that. I need to do another click. There's another step. I need to do something to actually go forward. That's a step, but as few as possible.
I see. Is there an option that you would put a presentation like this, for example, on SlideShare, or is it downloadable somewhere where people could click after this online presentation?
Absolutely. We're going to put all the slides on o'donovan.de. There's a publication tab, and then you can download.
We'll link it. Go down here in the show notes. There'll be a link, and you can find it there. For me to say, thank you very much, Holger. It was very informative. If you would like to see more entrepreneur tools and special tools, go down here in the show notes. There's a link where you can reach out, as well as go down here and put your comment in. Thank you very much, Holger. Thank you for your time. And we may add for our audience that this is the second attempt of recording this, because the first one was just to be put in the binge. Unfortunately, I had an annoying beeping sound in the background and I don't know where it came from, but now hopefully it's gone. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It was great. And I'm looking forward to if you guys use the model, let me know. I'm always very interested in see how people apply it. I've seen the funniest ways of applying this, down to teenagers using this to convince their parents to let them go on a holiday alone and everything. So let me know in the comments or write an email or LinkedIn or something like that. I'd love to see what you do with the model.
The teenagers didn't happen to be your kids?
No, they're not teenagers yet. Their methods are more in the screaming and biting area.
I see. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.